they weren't like school, because we could go to any school where you lived. But if you were a person of color, there were, out of the 13 wards, there were only 5 of them where you could buy or rent houses. And so the schools that were not in those 5 wards were segregated because there were no people of color there. So that's one of the reasons that we had to desegregate the school, ordered by that. But there was never an order for the park system. Any park, any place in the city, you could go and enjoy yourself and have recreation and take your family.
Thank you. I don't suppose then it's any accident that Theodore Wirth won the Racial Council Award in 1940 for his policies of equal access. Congressman Sabo is not here yet, but the mayor is here, and the mayor and Megan have a little bit to say to us. I want to, first of all, thank the mayor. He's supported us when we were first conceiving of creating the Legacy Society. I appreciated his original comments in a neighborhood meeting about the importance of what we were doing. Here's Megan, Mayor Ryback and his wife Megan.
I'm sure you've already done this, but I wonder if we could have one big round of applause for Joan and the Legacy Society. I'm joined here by my wife Megan O'Hara and daughter Gracie, and our son Charlie would be here, but he's playing baseball, which of course is one more legacy of the parks in Minneapolis, so we thank you. As Megan and I were thinking about why this is so important, we really came up with the point that it's really that whole, remember the old movie, It's a Wonderful Life, where suddenly he imagined what life would be like if he hadn't been there. Stop and dream a little bit, it's more of a nightmare, about what would have happened had Theodore Wirth not been here, had the parks not been here, had the generations of people in Minneapolis not nurtured this legacy. What would this city be? And it's a chilling thought, but the beautiful thought is we don't have to go there, because for generations people have nurtured things. Through good times, through bad times, we've recognized that parks are really something very special, and there is no city in America that's even close to what we have. It's a tremendous, tremendous legacy.
I want to tell you that in this room, many important things happened in Theodore Wirth's life. This chalet was very important to him. Of course, he was from Switzerland, and we have some Swiss relatives of Theodore Wirth here. I'd like them to stand up, please. The Swiss Wirths. They came a long way to be with us today. I don't have time. I'd like to introduce every Wirth, but I don't think there's time for that. I hope that you all know how much we appreciate you coming to Minneapolis. I would like to say that Theodore Wirth built this chalet in 1923. This golf course is the first public golf course in the city, established in 1916. When he was building this chalet, he brought the architects a little model of a chalet that he had brought back from Switzerland on his honeymoon. He brought it to America, kept it in his living room, and when this building was built, they modeled it after that very precious artifact of his. As they were building the building, and not that we have anything against these people at all, but people from Minnetonka and Interlochen came by, and they said, "How can you build such a fine building for the public?" And he said, "Well, the public deserve equal to everyone else." And they said, "But how can you use our tax dollars to do this?" And he said, "Well, I'm not. The golf fees will pay for it," and they did within 3 years. You come out here any day, and you will see this golf course active, and people on in the winter. You see children, like Harry said, sledding down the hill, or tubing now is more popular. Anyway, this building was precious to Theodore Wirth. Many things happened in this room that were important in his life. When he would have an anniversary, a special anniversary, maybe the 20th year he had worked for the park board, or the 25th year, or he went on to the 30th year, or when he retired, in 1935, it was still called Glenwood Park. He had no expectation that this park would be named for him. It was named Glenwood Park, only about 64 acres when he came here. He grew this park to be over 800 acres. I want the Wirth family to keep in mind as you're going down the parkways today that those parkways are park property. You're not just going down city streets, and our park board is responsible for them. It's important to know that. We have nearly 60 miles of parkways connecting our parks in Minneapolis. Since something so important happened in his life in 1938, well, let me back up a minute here. In 1938, the Minneapolis Park Board was concerned that people would always remember the difference he'd made in the entire city. Keep in mind this park may be named Theodore Wirth Park now, but it was not named that then, and he did design or redesign or acquire 2/3 of the property in the city that is now park property. I've heard the percentages range from 12% of the city to parks to 18% of the city is park property. A lot of public space for all of us. Since our park board president is here, John Olson, and since this is the room where they changed the name of the park, so none of us would forget who Theodore Wirth was, I've asked Park Board President John Olson to read all or part of the resolution. It's long. So all or part of the resolution, when they changed the name of the park, why did they do this? President Olson?
Passed by the board a few years back, as Joan had explained, to rename this park, and I'd like to read that resolution. Whereas the beauty and usefulness of the park and recreation system of Minneapolis has attained national attention during a period when Superintendent Emeritus Theodore Wirth was its superintendent, and where plans for acquisition and development and concepts of use were formulated largely by him. And whereas, because of such achievements, fame and honor have been brought to the city, and national recognition has been given to Mr. Wirth in this and several allied fields of endeavor, and whereas such achievements have brought to the citizens of Minneapolis lasting benefits in the way of health, happiness, and a manner superior to that of ordinarily encountered, and whereas it is fitting that the names of truly great Minneapolitans should be perpetuated. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Park Commissioners that the following described park property to wit, that the area of parkland lying westerly of Xerxes Avenue North and extending from the Great Northern Railroad right-of-way and the channel between Cedar and Brownie Lakes on the south to 19th Avenue North and the Parkway Bridge over the Great Northern Tracks on the north, and herefore known as Glenwood Park, excerpting therefrom the Park Drive, which is a part of Victory Memorial Drive, shall hereafter bear the name Theodore Wirth Park, in honor of Superintendent Emeritus Theodore Wirth, Superintendent of Parks from January 1st, 1906 to November 30th, 1935. And that the name of the golf course in said park and any and all water structures or apparatus now bearing the name Glenwood hereafter shall bear the name Theodore Wirth.
Especially appropriate that Commissioner Olson read that resolution. This building falls within his district, and this gift of John and Martha Richter and the donors to the statue will be an asset to his district. So, and of course he's the park board president, so that's another reason. Congressman Sabo has just walked in, so we would like to give him the opportunity to speak. Congressman Sabo? I suppose I should tell you more about him, but I think we all know. And besides that, he grew up in my mother's hometown.
Well, thank you, and good morning to all of you. This is another great celebration of our park system. There are many things that make our state and our city great, but I think really one of the unique things is Minneapolis is an incredible park system we have. Both all the lakes and the degree that we kept the lakes available to everyone, and the park system, you know, the golf course and all the golf courses and the green space they produce and the enjoyment they produce, the parks and the ball fields and the park buildings where people come for a variety of not only athletic but other activities that just go to, it's part, a very, very important part of what makes this such a great city. So this is really another celebration of all of the history we have in our city. And one of the people who made Minneapolis great. So congratulations to the memory of, and to all of those. I understand a good number of family members and relatives are here, and this is really a great memorial to a great contributor to making our city great. So congratulations.
Congressman Sable has done a great deal for the Minneapolis parks. If you don't know, he helped to implement grand rounds funding into the parks. I can't even tell you the number, but it was a lot of bucks. And our parks always need money. I would, just before we go downstairs, I would like to ask how many people here are named Theodore Wirth. Would you please stand? See, 1, 2, isn't there another? TJ. Okay, so 3 people here are named Theodore Wirth. Now there's at least one with the middle name Theodore. He's back there. Theodore had a son, Conrad. He had a son, Theodore, too. But he had a son, Conrad. And there's people here named after Conrad Wirth. Some are girls. We have, what's your name? Jace Conrad Wirth. We have, is Constance here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. And I think maybe there's a baby or a little boy, 2 years old, named Connor Wirth that's here after Conrad. And Peter Conrad Wirth, Conrad's son. By the way, this Theodore is also Conrad's son. And then we have Walter Wirth was the 3rd son, and we have some people here named Walter. But I have a feeling that Walter Wirth was named after a nephew of Theodore Wirth. So we have a Walter from Switzerland, and we have a few people here with the name Walter, don't we? In their middle name or their first name? Harrison Walter Wirth. He came from Maine. And Walter Schmid came from Switzerland. Okay, now it's going to be time to unveil the statues.
First, Bill will say something funny. For anybody who haven't met him yet, this is Bill Wirth. All right, Bill.
Son of Ted Wirth, son of Ted Wirth, Theodore. I've just been asked on behalf of all of the assembled Wirth family to express our gratitude to Mr. John Richter and to all of the other organizations and individuals who contributed to make this whole garden as possible. Thank you very much.